Yeah, I think it doesn't need to be much more. It needs to be a little bit more, and that should be enough. I think once you understand that you need other people to make decisions, and specifically you need other people to conversate or to talk your decisions, just to bring to mind the arguments of the decisions you've made, then companies begin to understand that this is part of work, and that hence there should be resources and the capabilities and the instances that allow people to review their decisions with other people. I was just talking with people here. Interesting, this is like something we take home. Like typically people arrive home and they say, I've done that and I don't know what to do, maybe I should do this and that. That's fine, but also we should find this place at work, the place where we can make this conversation. I don't know, maybe I should do this or that. What do you think? How do you feel it at work? And recognize that that's a fundamental part of decision making. Many decisions, something that's very well known in neuroscience is that often first we make the decision, to be more precise, our brain makes a decision which we are not aware of. And then once we've made this decision, we only begin giving arguments of I made this decision because of that and because of this and because of so. So it's actually the intuitions that are working or the unconscious decisions, and then consciousness just is kind of an interpreter that explains and gives meaning to the decisions that actually were not conscious decisions, they were just unconscious, intuitive decisions. Well, I'll give you a typical example. Something which is very typical in all businesses, in all corporations, is how you motivate people working there. So that's the fundamental question of human resources. And there are all sorts of incentives, giving more money, paying vacations, making meetings. But what people forget is the value of meaning. So I'll give you a concrete example. Typically, someone has done work, and then they go to talk to their boss, and they say, I've been working all week on that, and I found that, and I have this. And so how typically bosses react, this is very human. Very typical is you're looking at it and you go, oh, that's great, really, while you're looking at your phone, and then you text someone, and from the perspective of the other person, this is destroying meaning, because the reason I did that is because I wanted to please you. I wanted to do something that you would find meaningful, that you find interesting, and maybe you will pay me more, you'll give me more money, and you will increase my salary, but you're not giving me the right and fundamental motivation, which is feeling that the work I do has meaning, that it's important for you, that it's important for the company. And this is very typical because telephone distractions are tremendously frequent. I mean, we all have them. And so something which I think is very important is for leaders to understand that there's a moment in which your telephone has to be shut off, because people feel very bad when you're talking to them and you're just giving the sense or the feeling or the intuition that really I do not care so much for what you are saying. One way of seeing it is respect. There's a moral perspective, which is important. But now I'm speaking from a more basic, completely profitable perspective. You will make your people work more and better if when they come to tell you something, you don't have your phone and you look at them in their eyes. Because then they will have a sense of meaning, they will perceive that what they're doing is profitable and valuable, and they'll be better workers, they'll be doing their job much better. So I'm not speaking, then you can take this to the moral domain, and it's important there as well. But now I'm only thinking from a completely utilitarian perspective, from the perspective of making as much as you can from the company you have. Giving sense by at least not looking away when someone is telling you something very important is maybe the first drive for motivation. First thing to find the best decisions is to understand that there's not a best decision often. There are many problems for which there's not a best decision. Often decision making is very complicated, and often you made a good decision, but the return from this decision was bad because the world is volatile and you cannot control everything, and you make the best educated guess. So this is a very first important thing, because you ask the question like this is, we have to understand that decision making is not always about making the best decision. Second important thing for this is often you can make the best decision, but the cost for that is huge. Maybe it will take you 3 years of work, and maybe the second best decision was good enough, and that was something. So you have to optimize something, but what you have to optimize is not the best decision, but something that takes into account time, possibilities, return rates, volatility, and so on. Once you have understood this, then the second thing is, I've come up with what I think is my best choice. What can I do to improve it? Not to make the best decision, but at least to find a decision that's going to be better than that. And the problem when we make decisions is that often we are not aware of all the delivery process, all the arguments, all the reasoning that went on to make this conclusion, because it's unconscious. Our brain is doing a calculation, but we're not aware of this calculation. And also often our brain has heuristics and makes some mistakes. Sometimes they're huge mistakes, like we ignored something that was very important and we forgot it was there, and we made a wrong calculation. But once again, we are not writing this in paper. It's our mind that comes up with these decisions. So how can we put this in a way that it's visible for ourselves? We have to explain this to someone else. And a right figure is to explain this to someone that really does not understand nothing about the problem. So I was saying, like the Nobel Prize Richard Feynman, he said, now speaking about science, but this is true for all decisions we make, is if you want to know you really understood something, like you really grasp it, then do something like acquire this knowledge, and once you think it's there, explaining to children, like to the people that really do not know anything about. And when you do that, you will realize that there are parts that you thought you knew, but that they don't go through like smoothly. You kind of cannot go and then come back and revise and find why this happened and do it again and again and again until you can perfectly explain it to someone that knows nothing about that. And there you have understood the problem. The same is true for decisions. If you can explain the decision to someone that is naive and will be asking, the basic questions, then maybe it's not the best decision, but it's very likely to be a much better decision than the one you had.
Thank you very much.